uses and implementation of this, correct?
Correct. It's actually managed through the New Hampshire Attorney General's Drug Task Force, and they have to justify it to the Attorney General, who then has to justify their expenditures based upon their activity to the Department of Justice for the United States. So, yeah, there's accountability and there's accounting all along the way.
Thank you.
Anything further? A motion, please.
Move that the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept a $30,000 grant from the New Hampshire Department of Justice to offset costs associated with personnel assigned to the New Hampshire Attorney General's Drug Task Force.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Anything further? All in favor? Thank you. Next item on our agenda, someone is representing the Youth Services. This is funding for Youth Services program.
Good evening, Beth Fox, Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director, Human and Youth Services Director. I'm here tonight requesting that the Council authorize the City Manager to accept funding from two programs. One is the Juvenile Court Diversion Program, JCC, and the other program is the CHINS program. Excuse me. The other program is the formerly known as the CHINS program. It's now called the Adolescent Grief Intervention Program. An acronym that isn't quite as easy as CHINS, unfortunately. The county has funded both these programs for a long period of time through the county budget. It was approved in their 2014 allocation. These funds allow the city's youth services manager to provide services to other youth in the region who go through the area court and require intervention.
Questions? Committee? Public? Thank you. Any motion?
It says that this county money is valuable because it allows these programs to provide service to youth and families that reside outside the city of Keene but live in the jurisdiction of the court. So the court directs certain services, but those services are only available in Keene. So if you have...
Yes, we provide, there isn't another program, the smaller communities don't have those services within their arsenal. So the county helps fund our provision of those services.
Since we have a lot of problems, what happens when the court directive exceeds this county allocation? Where does the extra funding come from?
I mean, this is a revenue that's calculated into the city budget. We've included these revenues in the estimates in developing the budget, so they to a certain extent offset the cost of operating the youth services program. And there isn't a per client charge, and the caseload can vary from year to year, so it would be difficult, I think, to administer that budget.
Anything further? Motion, please.
Move that the Finance Organization Personnel Committee recommend the City Council authorizes the City Manager to do all things necessary to accept and administer funds provided by Cheshire County for youth services programs.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Anything further? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Next item, the police chief is back. This is regarding radiological emergency response grant.
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is related to Vermont Yankee, and this is an annual grant that we receive as the host community for an emergency out of Vermont Yankee, and it is in the amount of $50,763. And this is a grant from the state of New Hampshire Department of Safety, Homeland Security, and Emergency Management. These funds help cover costs associated with exercises around the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center here in the city of Keene, directly related to emergencies that might arise out of Vermont Yankee. We conduct exercises annually. It also helps purchase equipment such as portable radios, technology, communications equipment, and other consumables such as office supplies, printer ink, and stuff like that we would utilize during these exercises. for Vermont Yankee, and therefore they don't come out of the taxpayer coffers here in the city of Keene.
Sounds good. Questions, committee, public?
Move that the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept the fiscal year 15 grant from the State of New Hampshire Department of Safety, Homeland Security and Emergency Management in the amount of $50,763.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there anything further? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, sir. Next item on our agenda, this is item 6, for those that are following along at home. It's a memorandum from the Highway Superintendent, Mr. Byrne. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, councilors. Bill Byrne, Superintendent, Keene Highway Division. I'm here before you tonight to request that you authorize the city manager, given the opportunity and ability to amend his drain cleaning contract with the Hardigan Drain Cleaning Company. The reason we're asking for this is that we want to revisit sections of the city that we started cleaning 3 years ago to perform routine drain maintenance. Catch basins, our drain system is basically historically has been forgotten infrastructure. This Department of Public Works is no longer looking at it that way. So 3 years ago, we implemented a citywide drain clean and line flushing program. Upon review and assessment by the division, we found that after in about a 3-year period, it's time to go back and revisit the first section that you cleaned 3 years ago. And this will be a routine, cyclical performance, routine maintenance. The idea behind this is, right now, in the section that we did 3 years ago, there's material in the sump of the basin. Now that's the area about between a foot and 2 feet below the drain pipes. With pipes come in, pipes go out. That collects a little debris and things like that and allows it to stay there stored before it gets up to the level of the pipe and could hinder drainage. So we want to go back and revisit those areas and clean those sumps now before that material can get into the drain lines and prohibit proper drain flow with the drainage system.
Makes sense. The original contract, by the notes, it was a 4-year contract, a total of $172,365. So this is looking to add an additional $37,500.
Correct.
I think that's a pretty wise idea to keep the drains flowing. Questions? Yeah.
I just make a comment. The people in the Grove and Foster and Adams, they really appreciate you cleaning out the drains.
It's good to hear. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Talking about using carryover funds,
Yes.
and that means what?
Carryover are funds that were unspent from previous fiscal year. So we request through finance for those carryover funds to perform this drainage work.
Would that be unspent from other contracts?
Possibly. I don't know the exact source where it came from.
Any interest or concern?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, as to where it's coming from?
Yeah.
No, I understand
Yeah, I
that.
don't.
But my follow-up is that I'm concerned about us, city council spending money that we raised last year for other purposes and not giving it back to the taxpayers. So, there's a couple of other items tonight that probably need.
Same question.
Same question, same situation. I think the project is perfect. It's something that should be done. Something we ought to budget for. But I think we spend too much of last year's money every single year. And if we are fortunate enough to have a surplus, then we ought to give it back to the taxpayers by either raising it in the following year or using it to reduce the rate so that other projects can come forward.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Going where Tom has already headed, this is the first time that I can remember that it talked about carryover funds. Every other project would be like, we had this project for $1.2 million, we may have bonded, but there was $40,000 left, so we were doing a transfer. I don't think I've ever heard the term carryover funds, because I think that tends to bring up, once the budget year is over, that all goes into, with unallocated fund balance. And so I would feel a heck of a lot more comfortable if this $37,000 was coming out of unallocated fund balance or projected surplus for this year, instead of using the term carryover funds, because I don't know how we get to go back or something on books that are already been closed out.
If I may add, what the division's plans are, this upcoming CIP program is to request funding for this annual cyclical maintenance. But that's the upcoming year we're going to address.
Just to translate something quick. The discussion really is not about the item itself, it's more the bookkeeping and
Yes, that's
financial.
the finance that's above me, yeah.
You do a good job with the drains.
Thank you.
Well, I was gonna ask you whether or not this was in the CIP for this year, or if it's something that we just do every year without adding it to the capital
Well,
improvement plan.
We're going to request in the upcoming capital improvement plan, funds for this annual maintenance.
But we haven't in the past.
Correct. We just initiated the strengthening program 3 years ago. We're going into the fourth year, well, we will be going into the fourth year next year. We're in our third now, the citywide drain cleaning. It's a new program we initiated, and realized that drain is, no one thinks of it until there's an issue.
This was a capital improvements program 3-4 years ago.
Excuse me?
I believe this was a capital improvements
Yes.
program years ago, and I think that sort of answers. No?
Chairman,
Court,
Public Works Director. This program has been the capital improvement program. It was, as the Highway Superintendent mentioned, it was started about 3 years ago. What they're requesting is just to do basically additional work.
Yeah.
And then again, as he mentioned, we will be continuing to ask as part of the upcoming program to continue what we're doing. So, program that has been in the works, has existed. This is just requesting to be able to do additional work with some funding that will make it 13.
Gotcha, thank you. Anything further? Public? You up for a motion, or you?
I think it should be one here. Move that the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to amend the contract for Hardin Drain Cleaning Company to perform additional drain cleaning and line flushing using carryover funds of $37,500 from fiscal year 13-14 budget. The original 4-year contract amount was for $172,365. The amended 4-year contract total will be $209,865.
Second, please.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Anything further? All in favor? All opposed? We are not unanimous. We are 3-1. But
Thank you.
note that this does go forward with a positive recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda, Assistant Public Works Director is coming forward. Repurposing funds from capital project 08064. Yes, sir. Ma'am.
Well, hello, I'm Donna Hanscom, Assistant Public Works Director and Laboratory Manager. I'm here to talk to you tonight about the purchase of a camera to investigate what goes on inside the sewers. It's not a terribly glamorous type of project, but it's one that we have come to understand the necessity of. You remember in 2004 we received an administrative order from EPA, and part of that was that they required us to look inside our sewer lines. We have about 100 miles of sewer, and we were able to access about 80 miles of that with a private contractor. Throughout that, we found a lot of deficiencies, we found a lot of blockages, we found lots of different things that we are in the process of taking care of. And since then, as we've hired private contractors to come in for a day here and there to do some work, we've spent more than $37,000 on just private contractors since then. And we've recognized, as we've been working with these private contractors, the benefit of having this ability in-house. When we do routine sewer cleaning, if there's been a blockage or something, currently we don't have the ability to see if we've actually cleared the blockage. We know that the jetter has gone down through the middle of the pipe, but we don't necessarily know that the blockage is completely cleared. And we have run into some issues where it hasn't been, and it's caused another problem later on. We've also found some issues where we've been able to, with the camera, we've been able to pinpoint a deficiency so that we've been able to go in, dig a smaller area, make a smaller trench, a smaller cut, rather than kind of guessing where we think this deficiency might be in the main. So we've come up with a lot of times that using a camera would not only be convenient, but be actually very beneficial as far as the operation of the sewers. And I included a couple pictures, and I don't know how they came out on your copy, but I brought a bigger set of copies if you'd like to see it. And what they show is, and I have a third one, what they show is, the first one that shows kind of how the roots grow inside a sewer. And what you can see happens in this picture on the left is that you can run that sewer cleaner down through the middle of those, what's growing on the side, there are roots, so it's kind of like a curtain of roots. So if it's all covered together in the middle, and you run that jetter down through the middle of it, because they're so flexible, you can make it kind of pass through it, and then they sort of come back. And you think you've cleaned it, you think everything is good, and it really isn't. And we've had some overflows, and we've had some issues because of thinking it's clean and it hasn't been. This other picture shows, we've also used our drain, our cleaner inside storm drains. And Billy was just talking to you about drain cleaning, and we've realized the importance of being able to see inside of storm drains. This shows you a giant root that they found, I think it's on Madison Street, and we're able to remove it, but they were able to remove it because they found it first with a camera. They realized that there was something going on in there, and were able to target it. And if you see this cutter, it's kind of like one of those, like a circular cutter that you would use if you had a wood shop, and it goes at a fairly high rate of speed, and you don't want to use that without a camera to guide you, because it can do some pretty severe damage to the outside of the pipe if it gets off track. So this shows you pretty clearly what happens when it works well, and it took that whole root mass out pretty well. Another time that it's been useful to see the inside of a sewer pipe is when we've had a grease blockage. And recently on Gilbo Avenue, I think it was about a year ago, we had a grease blockage on Gilbo Avenue, and the pipe was blocked pretty much tight. During the course of regular cleaning, we were able to we had a pipe about this big, and we were able to create a hole about this big through it, which didn't really restore all the capacity. When we had a blockage that couldn't be relieved, there was a sewer issue that couldn't be taken care of, we cut it out and realized that exactly what was going on was there was a grease blockage. Had we had the ability to see inside that, we wouldn't have disrupted Gilbo Avenue. We could have targeted the cleaning and the work a whole lot better. So we've looked at several different kinds of cameras over the last couple of years, and we recognize there's something that apparently is a little unique to Keene, is that some of the bends outside of our manhole. Years ago, they used to build the manholes with kind of a bend just outside the manhole, and so some of these longer cameras, some of the contractors come in with cameras that are about 24 inches long or so, and they can't make it around that bend outside the manhole. And so we've looked at a number of cameras that would do this and would fit. We're looking at cameras that would have special wheels that go through grease, and they can go over joints, and all kinds of things that you would run into on the interior, because if the camera should get stuck in there, although it's on a cable, if it gets stuck, then you have to dig it up to pull it back out. So we've looked at a number of different cameras that are quite mobile. The setup that we are looking at, there's a couple of different contract vendors who sell them. They also, we would purchase a control box, a reel, camera, and then you can purchase a tractor that has various wheels so that it can go into larger pipes, and this one camera can go into pipes up to 24 inches in storm drains or sewers. And if we want to look at larger storm drains, we can do that with just the purchase of a tractor that kind of like just plugs in and goes with the same rest of the control box. So we looked at funding, and this project appeared in the capital project up until about 2 years ago, when we realized that there was extra money left over from a bond that had been sold for the structural integrity project. That was one of the administrative order projects. There was money that hadn't been spent and needed to be spent on sewer-related projects, couldn't be spent on other types of projects. So when it became apparent that that money was going to be unspent as part of the structural integrity project, we pulled this project out of the capital project and thought that we would come back and talk to you when it was time to request permission to spend it on this other project. So it's money that was not spent as part of the structural integrity project, and we have intentionally left it to be able to fund this with your permission.
I've had personal contact with sewers and storm drains and all the rest, and I forgot to bring a great visual aid to link the storm drain that I had to have excavated, that is just packed solid with root. So absolutely, I think it's there. What is the difference between you already have a camera?
We have a 17-year-old, and think about how much optics
I
and
know
things
it
have
didn't
changed.
work
in
very
17
well,
years.
so.
Well, it's called a push camera, and it's intended to just go into service lateral, like coming from your house or going into your house, your service line going into your house, a smaller line, and you push it. And it will only go as far as you can push it because it doesn't have wheels, it's not powered, and it's like pushing a rope. You know, you can push it as far as you can push it, and then you can only go so far. It doesn't work as well, obviously, as the new ones. It doesn't work as well as it did when it was new either. Its optics are fuzzy, its lighting is poor, and we are not able to record or do pictures or anything like that. And it certainly it doesn't work for us in larger mains.
These things have like little windshield wipers or something? Well, because it's going through a dirty pipe.
Well, it is going through a dirty pipe. It doesn't go underwater. It has a lens. What you have is the ability to kind of raise up out of the water, so you can sort of push a little button and it goes up. Or if that's not the style that you choose, you can pull it back out, put on bigger wheels so that it rises up higher in the water, it lifts up higher. But no, it's not intended to
Oh,
under a
because
full pipe.
that was an issue. It's going down a dirty pipe. Gradually, the lens gets dirty and you just can't see it and you take it out.
Dirty is okay. The dirty pipe is okay. It just can't go underwater. And they can do up to probably 400 feet at a time, and they would clean the lens each time before they go into
How
the
small
next.
a pipe is it going?
This one will go into 6-inch mains.
Not 4s.
They say that it can go into 4s. I'm not sure how well it goes. It might go into a straight 4-inch.
Yeah.
I don't know how many bends it would go around in a 4-inch.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the committee? Yes, sir.
Donna, structural integrity capital project was created when and what was the purpose?
I'm guessing 2006, might have been 2007, but its purpose was to look at the let's see, structural integrity. This is going to take a second. EPA had us do 3 different plans. One was structural integrity, priority cleaning, and preventive maintenance. The structural integrity had to do with evaluating our manholes, evaluating the mains, evaluating everything that we could see that needed to have areas that had access issues, areas that needed to have improvements made, sewers that needed to have improvements made, or manholes that needed to have improvements made.
And you haven't had, I think I heard you say you haven't had expenses in 2 years on this account?
On this particular account, when we took the other project out of the capital program, it was because there hadn't been, we had completed this project and they had sort of saved the balance after that capital year.
Normally, the motion, and when I go to your last line, normally, the last line or the last page is in the motion where it recommends that City Council authorize up to $90,000 from the cost center. Should that be in the motion?
It should.
And the second part is, because it left me, I had no idea what was in it, or even if this cost center could have covered it without that being in the motion.
Yes, it should be in the motion, and the cost center can cover it.
Okay.
Anything further from the committee, from the public?
Following up on what Tom was asking, how long If you have a fund that hasn't been expended, how long do you keep that fund before, can you just keep it forever?
I don't know the answer to that. That's sort of directed by the finance department. I think some of it has to do whether it was, bond funded or funded from operating expense. I think they do different things with them. I'm not really positive, and I think the finance director would.
How much money do we have out there like that?
There's a monthly council report, I think, that you get that lists those. I don't know what the total is. Oh, you've got a copy.
Oh,
The city manager is coming forward. You're here about the camera. I understand. Yes,
The city council gets a monthly report with all of our project balances. What we testified to before through Steve Gordon and others is that they look at the closeout of any of these projects within the reasonable time. They do let the project run for a short period of time to make sure that all the costs associated with the project, but once that's occurred, recommendations have been made to city council relative to any proceeds. We do not keep money in accounts for long periods of time. If that were to occur, it would be by accident, and I think the safeguards we built into the system right now relative to our monthly reports and our discussion that takes place through the budget process, et cetera, typically catches any amounts that are caught, that are available in that regard, that are used in some fashion if an appropriate expense comes along.
thank you. Yeah, Council.
There's $214,212 in that account, according to this report. So there's plenty of money covered.
We can cover it. Anything further? Where are we?
okay, so we have to, set that amount up to $90,000. Okay, I move finance organization personnel committee recommends the city council authorize the city manager to do all things necessary to use project balance from the structural integrity capital project 08064 of an amount not to exceed $90,000 for the purchase of a camera system to televise sewer and drain lines.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Anything from the committee? Public? Yes.
I just think it's a good idea because when I was looking at the daily per diem rate of $1,500, so you should recover the complete cost of the camera in about 60 to 75 days.
If we used it every day.
Yeah, put in, 60.
Make an interesting program on Channel 8. Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? We are 3 in favor. Opposed? We have 1 opposed. Thank you. Next item on our agenda, and this is